So this is a bit of a different video, but I read a lot, and I read a book that is not in my normal wheelhouse of reading, but it's called The Virtues of War by Stephen Pressfield. I ran into Stephen Pressfield's work from his nonfiction books. He's written a lot about creativity, and his most famous one would be The War of Art. It's really good stuff. So I picked up this novel I got at a used bookstore. It's a novel about the life of Alexander the Great, particularly his conquests once he comes to power. I didn't really know that much about Alexander the Great, but wow, this book is really interesting. It's a really good read. From what I can tell, it's pretty historically accurate. It's some research after the fact on some of that, and just his way of explaining and world building what it would have been like to be with Alexander the Great, which is this over 2,300 years ago. What his conquest would have been like, how this little region of Macedonia ended up conquering the greatest empire of the time, the Persian Empire, and those conflicts, and how Alexander the Great effectively conquered the known world. And he did it in 10 years, like at the age of, 30 or 33? Just a wild, phenomenal story that, it's a novel, but it's based on a real thing that actually happened. And if it were just a novel, it'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But this is actually real. Like, Alexander the Great actually lived, and it's just really hard to wrap our heads around how much of an impact one person can have on the world. And there's lots of debates amongst philosophers and historians about the effect that one life can have on the grand scheme of history and so forth. But you look at someone like Alexander the Great, and he's going to be at the top of the list, or close to the top of the list, of individuals that have transformed the world in an incredible way. Not necessarily all that positive in some ways, but radically changed how the world is shaped. And I would argue that means, the actions of an individual can have a massive outsized effect. So yeah, that was interesting for me. This novel really made me think. It's very well written, and yeah, maybe you could pick up a copy. I think you might enjoy it. Actually, so I helped start a nonprofit, and we work in the Middle East, and I was in one of the markets, and I got this coin, which is, let's see if the camera will focus on it there. So I got this coin right here, and this is a coin that this is Apollo on the front, and Alexander the Great's horse on the back. So this was a coin minted by Alexander the Great, or by his empire, as to glorify him and kind of compare him to the god Apollo and all this stuff. And of course, this wonderful favored horse on the back and things like that. And you see something real like this, and you're like, wow, that's true. Like, this guy actually, controlled basically the entire Middle East at the time, and that had a big impact on what languages are spoke there, and the philosophy of how things are done, and a lot of the religious landscape, things like that, were more majorly affected. And this coin was definitely a symbol of that. So that was kind of neat. It's like, this is a really cool thing to have in my office. So anyway, this is a bit of a random tidbit, but hopefully you found it interesting. Again, it's called The Virtues of War by Stephen Pressfield. It is about warfare, so it's pretty violent and sad, honestly. Like, Alexander the Great was a very flawed, very broken, and kind of messed up individual, so don't expect it to be warm, fuzzy feelings, but it will make you think. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. This is my second channel. My main channel is linked down below, where I produce maybe a little more polished, more professional things, but second channel is just for whenever I have random ideas, and I or have extra footage that doesn't make the main videos. I put them up here. So anyway, hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next video.